isolated little towns of southern and central Italy, the festa, or local festivity, is very often both worldly and religious in origin. For example, when it is an unpretentious re-evocation in historical costume of those far-off times when Christians clashed with Muslims. About 1,000 years or so ago, the Arabs attacked and invaded many parts of Italy, until, after a long struggle, they were vanquished by lords and princes from northern Europe, as recalled in this particular festa. For 3 centuries, Christian and Muslim knights fought to the death. The Moor was the enemy of enemies. And in the brief moments of peace, that enemy became the opponent to be challenged in tournaments and jousting matches. A truly heroic figure at one time, and then a symbolic hero. A symbol inviting attack in the kind of contest that has been preserved in many picturesque events. Such tests of daring and courage were a typical feature of Italian life for many centuries, as also in other cultures and civilizations throughout the world. The vivid reenactment of ancient tournaments and the pageantry of the living Middle Ages, to be found in the unspoiled little towns of Italy, provide some of the most colorful material in our archives of time. Boundless spaces of the countryside and the hills spilling across the borders between the Tuscany and Umbria regions of central Italy. A deserted world, not very far from the bustling cities of Florence and Siena. Countryside that inspired the earliest landscape painters of Italian art. Ambrogio Lorenzetti, for example, in the 12th century. It's an unusual world, one in which, for months on end, a man will train with his horse in preparation for the tests of skill and dexterity, staged every year in his little city or hill town, every year for countless years. We very quickly realize that these painted backgrounds are not merely fascinating illustrations showing a world that no longer exists. In fact, that world has changed incredibly little. A landscape dotted with strongholds, fortified cities, and castles. Formerly places that drew mercenaries, merchants, artists. The finest medieval city to be found in Tuscany is San Gimignano. It still defies the sky with the towers that are its pride. Let's journey through this land that lies outside the realm of time. A land in which a vision of reality took eternal form as architecture. The walls of Monteriggioni, for instance. And also took form as remarkable art, as in the painting of Piero della Francesca. His warriors and his heraldic splendor were inspired by an age in history whose princes and city republics have left a heritage for all time. Heritage of architecture. Mirror of a model that fears no changing fashions. The heritage of painting. And above all, an environmental heritage. Glorious works fashioned by the hand of man, gently inserted into a landscape still, by some inexplicable miracle, the same as in the days of the Medici family and of artists such as Giotto. The Middle Ages come to life most excitingly on the days when collective festivities are held. Festivities that create a slender but resilient chain linking past and present. Every year, the months of April and May used to be enlivened by the springtime fairs. Occasions for dancing and merrymaking. Moments of joyfulness that were captured in the simple but powerful painting of Lorenzetti. The same kind of festa is still held today, and with the same enjoyment in many old towns of Italy. Assisi, the city of St. Francis and Giotto. Here, the spring festivity is the Calendi Maggio, or May Day. Every family competes with its neighbors in devising masks, fancy dress, and games. And all the women of Assisi are proud of the typical embroidered costumes they continue to make, based on centuries-old styles that have never been forgotten. The May Day celebrations in Assisi were also a festival of love. A rare moment of sexual freedom in a society that was repressed and excessively strict, and yet which, for a day at least, allowed the young to live their youth to the full. Summertime is the season for jousting tournaments. The most thrilling such event, still reenacted in the central part of Italy, where time seems to have slowed down, takes place at Ascoli Piceno. It's known as La Quintana, a name that comes from the word quinto, meaning fifth, with reference to the 5 districts of the medieval city. The relationship with the past becomes community participation in the historical pageants, which proudly celebrate every little city's freedom and independence. Countless memories kept alive by the colors and dramatic movements of the banners and standards of noble families and of the city wards or districts. Once again, the central element of the festa is the ancient challenging of the Moor, a relic of those times when Muslims invaded these lands and relentlessly besieged these walls in the 9th and 10th centuries. The contest is actually between the riders and their horses belonging to the 5 quarters of the city. The aim is to demonstrate great speed and precision in hitting the target, as in the 13th century tournaments depicted in the stone sculptures of the city's old building. The horseman who is fastest and most precise in aim will be the winner. Another historical game from the time of the city-states, when impressive castles such as this at Soave defended the heart of the Venetian region in the 13th and 14th centuries. This was a peaceful contest, however. The unique, living chess game of Marostica.
Al nome de nostro Signore Gesù Cristo, del glorioso San Marco, protettor del nostro Stato,
The story behind this strange happening dates back to the time of Romeo and Juliet. And, in fact, it was a similar story of star-crossed lovers that led to these costumed figures acting as chess pieces.
50° del conquisto di questo munito castello, et nobil citade Marostega, in obbedienza et sudditanza alla Serenissima Repubblica de Venezia, nu, Taddeo Parisio, gubernator, rector et capitaneus, Castellan de Marostega, podestà dei borghi et del contado, Gabemo ordenar et ordenemo. Sia tenuta a hora décima nel campo de Castello d'Abasso una disfida al nobil triono degli scacchi.
Master Taddeo Parisio was a wealthy merchant in the Middle Ages, and he had a beautiful daughter, Madonna Leonora, who, being his sole heir, attracted suitors not only for her beauty. Two young men, in particular, were ready to fight a duel to win her favors. They would undoubtedly have fought to the bitter end if Master Taddeo had not had a brilliant and strange idea. The duel would take place without bloodshed, in the form of a larger-than-life chess game. The contest took place, as a document of the time describes, in the courtyard of the castle, specially set out with slabs of black and white marble, and with human rooks and pawns, living knights and bishops, kings and queens. Beyond the last undulating line of the Apennine Hills, we return to Tuscany. We are flying over Arezzo. In this square, the Middle Ages live again every September, in the contest on horseback, in which take part knights wearing the armor and costumes of the glorious age of the Crusades. An ancient fresco that has miraculously come to life. Archive film of the jousting match held in Arezzo was shot 20 years ago, when this was still a contest that called for great skill and, above all, courage. As soon as the figure of the Moor was hit, the three metal balls were swung round with great force and could knock the rider off his horse. Of unrehearsed drama and tension that truly seemed to belong to the Middle Ages. The impassioned determination of the competitors. The clashes between rival factions. we can easily feel what it must have been like to live in medieval Europe. Further proof that nothing or very little has changed in these old Italian towns. The most violent, the most exciting horse race of the Middle Ages is still held every year, the Palio of Siena. It has lost none of its fascination. Stage setting is the great central square known as Il Campo, which was created like a huge seashell in the 13th and 14th centuries, when this city of banks and bankers was one of the richest in Europe. The individual enterprise that made this city so great still exists today, it seems. A young man has decided to enjoy the thrills of the Palio race from the top of Siena's Civic Tower and starts climbing it with mountaineering equipment. Competing for the Palio, the banner awarded to the winner, are 7 horsemen from the 7 medieval districts of the city. Before the no-holds-barred race is run, a long procession in historical costume is staged. Procession of dignitaries and nobles that also includes the horses that are the real protagonists of this day. Such importance is attributed to the 7 horses that they are actually given a blessing in the parish churches of the districts they represent. A ceremony whose mixture of religious devotion and pagan superstition indicates how old this tradition must be.
Vai e torna vincitore.
Horses and their jockeys emerge from the public palace or city hall. The jockeys are presented with an ox nerve whip, which they will use mercilessly on their mounts and on their rivals. The race lasts little more than 1 minute. It is sheer drama, primitive, cruel, almost inhuman. Anything goes during the frantic seconds of mad galloping, the same as in the ruthlessly aggressive medieval days of the city. The Palio is no ordinary horse race. It's really not a race at all. There is no sporting spirit involved, no fair play. It's a throwback to the ancient Roman circus. It's an invitation to violence, an occasion for legalized bribery and corruption. Winners or losers, there's little to distinguish them. Rage, wild enthusiasm, furious quarrels. Emotions are near to explosion point. The incredible climax is after the end of the race. Without this extremely passionate involvement, the Palio race of Siena would no longer exist today, not even as a historical re-evocation. And this city would not be able to identify itself in what it has never ceased to be. A vivid reflection of those remote Middle Ages that live on here eternally.
See for yourself. Full Circle with Michael Palin.
Sunday at 8 on Channel 9.